Carbon is an element. The symbol for carbon is C. Carbon is a non-metal. It occurs naturally in different forms. Diamonds are made of carbon. The lead in a pencil is not lead at all. It is another form of the element carbon called graphite. Living organisms do not need diamonds or pencil leads, but they do need carbon. Organisms cannot use carbon in the form of an element. They can only use it when it is part of a compound. Carbon is part of many different compounds that make up cells. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are all compounds that contain carbon. We rely on plants to make these substances. Plants take carbon dioxide from the air and use it in photosynthesis to make carbohydrates. Carbon dioxide is a compound that contains carbon atoms combined with oxygen atoms. The carbohydrates in plants contain carbon atoms that were originally part of the air. Plants use carbohydrates to make proteins and fats. All of these nutrients are compounds that contain carbon atoms. We are animals, so we get all of these carbon-containing nutrients when we eat plants or other animals. Decomposers get their carbon when they break down waste products from plants and animals. A lot of the carbon dioxide that plants take from the air eventually goes back into the air again. This happens when plants and animals respire. You may remember the respiration equation. Glucose plus oxygen equals carbon dioxide plus water. When you breathe out, carbon dioxide that was produced in your cells by respiration goes into the air around you. All organisms respire. Plants respire all the time. At night, when they cannot photosynthesize, they give out carbon dioxide, just as we do. Decomposers respire too. As they break down waste products from plants and animals, they release carbon dioxide into the air. However, when organisms die, they are not always broken down quickly by decomposers. Sometimes their bodies fall into places where there is no oxygen, such as deep in the ocean. In these places, the decomposers cannot respire because there is not enough oxygen for them. Instead, the organisms' bodies get gradually buried as more and more sediment builds up on top of them. High pressure and heat change their remains into fossil fuels, including coal, oil, or natural gas. Changing dead organisms to fossil fuels takes a very long time. Most of the fossil fuels that we use on Earth today were formed hundreds of millions of years ago. Oil and natural gas formed when tiny marine organisms died and fell to the seabed. The oil rig has pipes that go deep into the seabed where deposits of liquid oil are present. The oil is brought up through the pipes and taken ashore to be used as fuel. Coal was formed from the remains of plants that grew in huge swamps. Their remains were buried over millions of years, slowly turning into coal. Coal is dug out of the ground and then used as a fuel for cooking or heating homes, but most of it is used in power stations to generate electricity. Fossil fuels contain carbon. This came from the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in the dead organisms. When we burn fossil fuel, the carbon in it combines with oxygen from the air and forms carbon dioxide. This is called combustion. The completed diagram is called the carbon cycle. It is important to remember that fossil fuels are not the same as fossils. A fossil is the remains of an organism, or traces of it, such as its burrows that have turned to rock. We can still see the shape of the organism in a fossil. But fossil fuels do not look like organisms at all, and oil and gas are not even rocks. Fossil fuels are given this name because, like fossils, they were formed a very long time ago and buried underground.